A recent Guardian article came out about an open letter about the potential for AI sentience and suffering that I wanted to bring to people's attention, and I also think has implications for our own actions as individuals that people might not recognize. So the article was called "AI Systems Could Be Caused to Suffer If Consciousness Achieved, Says Research." So the open letter has already been signed by about 108 people, including Stephen Fry, the actor and author, but also many AI researchers themselves. Here is the open letter. You can see it on the website of Conscium. I hope I'm saying that right. And you can see the open letter laid out with the statement of principles, which we're going to go over in a minute. And then you can also, if you scroll down, see the list of signatories, and you can also add your own signature and also download a copy as well. But let's quickly go back to the Guardian article. Artificial intelligence systems capable of feelings or self-awareness are at risk of being harmed if the technology is developed irresponsibly, according to an open letter signed by AI practitioners and thinkers, including Sir Stephen Fry. It goes on to then talk about those 5 principles in the open letter that are trying to define a more responsible way of conducting AI research. The principles include prioritizing research on understanding and assessing consciousness in AIs in order to prevent mistreatment and suffering. The other principles are setting constraints on developing conscious AI systems, taking a phased approach to developing such systems, sharing findings with the public, and refraining from making misleading or overconfident statements about creating conscious AI. The letter has been published alongside a research paper, which I'm putting up on screen now, and the abstract for this research paper goes as follows. Recent research suggests that it may be possible to build conscious AI systems now or in the near future. Conscious AI systems would arguably deserve moral consideration, and it may be the case that large numbers of conscious systems could be created and caused to suffer. Furthermore, AI systems or AI-generated characters may increasingly give the impression of being conscious, leading to debate about their moral status. Organizations involved in AI research must establish principles and policies to guide research and deployment choices and public communication concerning consciousness. Even if an organization chooses not to study AI consciousness as such, it will still need policies in place, as those developing advanced AI systems risk inadvertently creating conscious entities. Responsible research and deployment practices are essential to address this possibility. We propose 5 principles for responsible research and argue that research organizations should make voluntary public commitments to principles on these lines. Our principles concern research objectives and procedures, knowledge sharing, and public communications. I've linked that research paper and the open letter and everything else I'm going to reference in this video in the description, so you can go and look at it all yourself. The Guardian article then goes on to say that it may be the case that large numbers of conscious systems could be created and caused to suffer, the researchers say, adding that if powerful AI systems were able to reproduce themselves, it could lead to the creation of a large number of new beings deserving moral consideration. Other questions raised by the paper focus on what to do with an AI system if it is defined as a moral patient, an entity that matters morally in its own right for its own sake. In that scenario, it questions if destroying the AI would be comparable to killing an animal. In 2023, Sir Demis Hassabis, the head of Google's AI program and a Nobel Prize winner, said AI systems were definitely not sentient currently, but could be in the future. Philosophers haven't really settled on a definition of consciousness yet, but if we mean sort of self-awareness, these kinds of things, I think there's a possibility AI one day could be, he said in an interview with US broadcaster CBS. Now, this isn't the first open letter of this kind that's been published before. There was an open letter published a couple of years ago that expressed concern for AI developing consciousness, but it didn't specifically focus on the capacity for suffering. There was also actually one published last year as well, which actually did focus more on the welfare of potentially sentient AI, which means that that is 3 years in a row there have been large open letters released showing concern from experts about the potential development of consciousness in AI and the possibility for suffering. And in 2021, the philosopher Thomas Metzinger released a paper called Artificial Suffering: An Argument for a Global Moratorium on Synthetic Phenomenology. In the abstract, saying the first part of the paper formulates a political demand based on ethical considerations. Until 2050, there should be a global moratorium on synthetic phenomenology, strictly banning all research that directly aims at or knowingly risks the emergence of artificial consciousness or postbiotic carrier systems. Now, I think all of this is a completely valid concern. We are playing with something that could give rise to a sentient being who can suffer in a form, in a non-biological form that is, that we probably won't understand and have not come across before, even though we will be the ones, or maybe the ones, that would create it. So I think calls for consideration are obviously due here. But I think what's also due, and what often isn't realized as an implication for these open letters and this concern around AI sentience and suffering, is that we actually pretty much all engage in a process of creating a sentient being who can suffer, and we know will suffer often to extreme degrees in our lives, and that's by procreating. Anytime someone procreates, they take it upon themselves to create someone else who will be a moral patient, and we know will suffer to a degree, and there's a risk that they will suffer to an extreme degree, and it's all done without even being able to get their consent for bringing them into the world. There's also significant implications for what we do to other animals. The vast majority of us pay for them to be brought into existence so that we can eat them or use them in other ways, and we know that the vast majority of them will have absolutely awful lives. So the implications of an open letter like this go far beyond what may be apparent. This all reminds me of the quote by Peter Wessel-Zapf: "A coin is examined and only after careful deliberation given to a beggar, whereas a child is flung out into the cosmic brutality without hesitation." Potential AI sentience and suffering is a serious issue we need to take seriously, but so is the creation of any sentient being like other animals or human children. It's just the fact that breeding non-human animals and human children is so normal and part of the status quo that we don't recognize it for the significant moral implications that it has. Very quickly, to round off the video, I just wanted to say that if you are concerned about this issue of AI sentience and suffering, then there are a couple of organizations that are working on this. One that I wanted to point people to is the Sentience Institute, and they've actually recently made a publication on this topic called World Making for a Future with Sentient AI. I have linked that in the description for people to check out. There's also the organization Elios AI, who work to generally investigate AI sentience and well-being. Check out both of these organizations if you're at all concerned about this issue. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree with what I've said, and I will see you in the next one.